For those of you who know, we've entered this kind of interesting cycle here, where every 2 years, the museum partners with all the amazing facets of the Art Center and takes over the entire center to put on a massive art exhibition. Now, in the past, that exhibition is focused around the biographies of specific artists, Frida Kahlo, Andy Warhol. And this year, we once again are highlighting some fascinating, incredibly important artists such as Hokusai. But we're also telling a more broad story of one of the most important periods and some of the most important artwork in art history. And what propels a story like that is always the artwork. It's always the story and the artwork that is the seed for everything we do. And although the show we are presenting, Hokusai and Ukiyo-e, The Floating World, showcases masterworks from Japan, the work comes to us from Italy. And actually was last shown at the Museum of Rome in Italy. Here you can see that installation of some of the collection there, and us working with the curators there in Italy. Now, our partners, our global partners in Italy, are our wonderful partners at Mondo Mostra and the Ukiyo-e Museum from Genoa. So we were in Rome to get Japanese work that was actually from Genoa, right? So hang on a second, let me explain this. Why is this happening? Why is this amazing collection that's premiering in the US, never before been shown in the US, this collection, coming from Italy? Well, it has to do with this man, Edoardo Chiossone. Edoardo Chiossone was a master engraver who trained in Germany on what was at the time cutting-edge techniques for printing banknotes. And he was hired and brought to Japan in 1873 to modernize their currency, right? Because up until that point, it was still hand-painted currency, and it was fairly easy to replicate. So he went in 1873, he ended up spending the rest of his life in that country. He became very highly esteemed for his skill in his craft, but also because he had a great appreciation and love for Japanese culture and art. He loved it so much that he built a massive collection. A collection that he left to the academy that trained him in Genoa, the Art Academy, and that later became the Chiossone Museum in Genoa. And that is the collection we are receiving. And why is it so important? Edoardo Chiossone arrived in Japan only 20 years after they ended an extended period of isolation, almost 2 centuries of isolation, during which they had very little contact with the outside world. And one of the things that happened during that period that was also an incredibly peaceful period is that a unique form of artwork was allowed to develop outside of what was happening in the rest of the world. So the artists there were not getting inundated with what was happening in Europe, what was happening elsewhere, but they could build on the traditions of their country and also react to what was happening there. And what was happening there is that the government had centralized the government in Edo, which was Tokyo, as we know it. And since it was a peaceful time, they developed a very healthy and successful merchant class. And that merchant class was drawn to Edo as the center because it was a center of culture, of art, of theater, of excitement. And of course, since they were drawn to that and they had money to spend, they wanted artwork that also reflected that world. And so a lot of movements developed to kind of represent that world that was happening in Japan at the time. And probably the most well-known important was Ukiyo-e. Ukiyo-e translates as pictures of a floating world. That floating world here represents the culture, the world of enjoyment, of pleasure, of entertainment that was happening in Edo. And why else is it important? Because it has a very unique style. As this artwork developed in Japan, they were representing space differently. They weren't using perspectival space, but stacked kind of flat space. They were also creating prints that had very intricate patterns, paintings that were beautiful, kind of expressive portraits of actors and others, and very unique compositions. So when they finally did open up, and towards the middle of the 1800s, this work started to get out into the world. And people saw things that they had not seen before and had an incredible influence. Vincent van Gogh's favorite artist was Hiroshige, an artist from this period. He was greatly influential on Van Gogh's work. Degas was influenced by it. Toulouse-Lautrec was influenced by this work. But it didn't stop there. The influence of this work continues to move on and is very directly tied to the highly popular manga and anime that my kids are very into now. So that's comic books and movies that you may have seen. A lot of the same visual language comes from this moment. So this wildly, incredibly influential moment happened in Japan in that time. And we have this incredible collection from it from one of the key players in that period. So that collection is coming to the museum. Inside the museum space where we'll have over 53 prints and paintings, one-of-a-kind paintings, and we'll also have numerous instruments and other finely crafted objects. And that will be securely presented in the galleries, this collection from the Kiyosone. But as I mentioned, art is at the seed, is at the base of these events, but it is just the thing that propels us forward. Because when we do an exhibition here at the Art Center, we try to expand it as much as possible. We want to give you as much context about the time and as much of an experience as possible. So outside of that gallery space, we'll continue to expand. Once again, the lobby is going to have a very extensive exhibition that I've been working on with our assistant curator, Julia Walker, who's seated right over here. And this will tell in depth that fascinating story I just mentioned to you. It will contain the history of Edo, the history of one of the most important artists for that period, Hokusai, as well as a lot of other information. And like all of the exhibits we strive to do, it will be incredibly visually compelling and just an enjoyable experience. Before you enter and see this work, you'll have that context. But then moving back from the main lobby, we want to keep going. So throughout the whole Art Center, our theaters, our hallways and spaces will be activated. We'll be highlighting all of the amazing, unique work that's being created as part of our community art project, which you'll hear about later. You'll also go to the back and have experiences to kind of immerse yourself in an Edo village. And I'm excited to say that in the studio theater will be transformed into a really exciting contemporary exhibition that talks about the history of manga, which started with Hokusai. And it's being created by these really innovative artists who operate out of Chicago, and they run a restaurant called 2D Restaurant. And what they're experts in is making hand-drawn spaces. So essentially what that means is they will create a space that's three-dimensional, but every surface will be drawn on so you feel as if you're walking into a drawing. So in the studio theater, you will actually walk into a manga experience and learn the history, how it evolved from the time of Hokusai to today. It's going to be an exciting partnership, and it's just one of many we're developing. You'll hear more of those from Diana shortly. Now, before I hand it over, I do want to talk a little bit about what is probably the most recognizable image from this period. You see it as an emoji on your phone. You see it in posters around the world. And it's this piece by Hokusai, Under the Great Wave of Kanagawa from 1831. Now, for a long time, when people look at this image, they interpret it as two fishing boats heading towards a tsunami-sized wave. And in that, there's kind of a tension because the raw power and force of nature is about to crash down on these fishermen. So there is a sense of perhaps impending destruction, of tension. But recently, scholars have looked at it, and looking at the number of people in the boats and the type of boats, think, actually these aren't perhaps fishing boats, but skiffs used to transport people between cities in Japan at the time. And in fact, they're not heading into the wave, but they're heading the same direction as the wave, towards home. And in that interpretation, this raw power and force of that wave doesn't necessarily suggest a destruction or an opposition, but an incredible mounting of energy, pushing them forward together. I like that interpretation of this piece in context to why we're here today. Because there are so many things happening around this exhibition, around everything we do in this community at the Art Center, that is building an incredible amount of energy. And it is not something that is going to crash down around us, but it is propelling us forward to wonderful things. And before I hand things back to Diana, I just want to thank those of you who have already jumped in the ships with us and encourage the rest of you to also join, because this is an incredible opportunity and it's going to be a wild ride and it's going to be a lot of fun and you're not going to want to miss out. So thank you so much, and now I'll hand things back to Diana.
So I'm going to talk about who is Hokusai. I find him really fascinating, and for me, when we work on these projects, it's always the person that I find so intriguing. And when you learn about the person, I think you have a little bit of a deeper connection. He called himself the old man mad about art. He did over 30,000 works in his time. He was definitely a workaholic, but he had a very interesting life and a very complicated life as well. When he was young, he was adopted, and there is question on whether maybe his mom was a concubine or not, because there's very little known about his mom, but he was adopted by an uncle who was very high up in status, and he was a mirror polisher for the emperor, which was a very high status role. So he was in a high status world and environment when he was young. And there was definitely a status and caste system in Japan at that time, right? So being able to live and grow up in that era and in that world was very important. At 14, though, he left his uncle and he went to go work for a bookseller. And I think it's interesting that he left at such a young age. At 18, he started to apprentice in a woodblock carving bookstore, print shop, and there would be many people that were carving and printing and doing different things in this shop, and he worked there for many years. The man who was the master of that bookstore really focused on doing images of kabuki stars, because they were in Edo. So when you think about what Justin was talking about, what Edo was like in that city, there were lots of kabuki theaters, there were a lot of beauties, the geisha, there was a lot of art and culture. The man he worked for focused on the stars of the kabuki and the beauties. So they would just do hundreds of those over and over and over. When he left there, that man passed away, and then the new lead on the store did not get along with Hokusai, and Hokusai wanted to expand and do some different things, and he got kicked out. And so he went on his own, and he did several things throughout his life, but he did get work from a very wealthy family who also owned a print store, so to speak, or a publisher. And the father had died, and they hired Hokusai to teach the son and run the school and keep things going. And that's where Hokusai started to stretch his focus away from just doing kabuki and geisha, and he started doing nature and experimenting with other ideas. At 34 is when he started doing all of those kinds of things. He also had a very ambitious life. If you look at that huge painting that he did, that was the size of a football field, and he did it with brushes and ink and many assistants, and it was called the Great Daruma. And he did a demonstration for the emperor at 44 years old. He always was trying to stretch, right, and do something different and try different things. He also wrote a book called The Book of Everything that was one of the most popular books of the period, and he did dozens and dozens and hundreds of sketches of different things from animals to trees, and that is said to be his first book of manga. And he liked it because he sold a lot of books because young artists would like to copy those images and learn how to draw all these different animals. He was struck by lightning at the age of 50 and survived. And then at the age of 60, he left Edo and started traveling. He painted the Great Wave at age 71. And at 79, a fire destroyed much of his work. Hokusai really, really wanted to live to be 100, and he wrote about that. He had a great dream to make it to 100 because he just wanted to keep working. And one thing that I think is so beautiful about the culture that I learned is that in the Japanese culture, they don't believe until you're 60, do you really come into your own? And do you really have the wisdom to do great things? And it's kind of interesting that he did the Great Wave after 60. And as I'm approaching 60, I really love that idea. I think it's a great idea. So there's a lot of beautiful stories to learn about Hokusai. On the other side, he changed his name over 30 times. Now, that wasn't just him. Many artists did, and they would change a part of their name to honor one of their teachers, and then they would pass on that name sometimes to a pupil. But over 30 times his name changed. But what I think is a really more interesting fact is he lived in over 90 different houses. Now, Justin told me this right away when we first started doing this. You know, he lived in like 90 different houses. Maybe we could recreate all the houses. I'm like, that's a lot of houses. But he did not like to clean, so he'd just move. How about that? I don't think that's a bad idea either. He would just move. Much of his work was destroyed in a fire later in his life, which is really sad. But that makes the prints and the works that still exist even more important, right? So what we have is very special. So other exhibition highlights in the Playhouse, we want to do a recreation of one of the bookshops that he worked in to give you an idea of what would a bookshop look like. So when you walk into the Playhouse Theater, you're going to get to walk into a sample of Edo, Japan and see what those little bookstores look like. But they really did, it's amazing when you think about people hand carving plates to make books and posters and illustrations for books, and how much they appreciated illustrated books, and how many people worked in these bookshops actually making the prints and carving the prints and doing all of that work. It's really quite exceptional to think about the amount of work that went into all of those. We will have a children's area with a wishing tree and arts and crafts that kids can do, from doing calligraphy to learning how to do origami and different crafts. And there will be an animated video with the story of Hokusai for children to understand the story. We did a little student event here on Hokusai's birthday, and you can see the calligraphy and how much not only the kids enjoyed it, but the adults enjoyed it too. We will have a photo booth area in the back with a shogun and a beauty and an emperor and a kabuki actor. So we're looking at what costumes we can recreate or what we can get. And in the back, we're looking at ideas for a Japanese-inspired garden. Ball Horticultural has offered to help us source beautiful bonsai trees and bring them in. And the connection with Ball as a sponsor is so phenomenal. We talked to Anna Ball, and she shared a story about how her father brought back petunia seeds from Japan when he went many, many years ago. Did you know that petunias came from Japan? I did not know. So she has a very deep and personal connection to Japan because of the impact it had on their business, and her father bringing flowers when he would come back and travel. We plan to have a lot of fun summer Japanese-inspired events throughout the summer with different kinds of interactive programming. Some of the things that we want to nail down are lectures by experts in the field, as well as some films to show people some of the anime films, the story of Hokusai, and lectures. Eric Shiner is an expert in Japanese art. Susan Thompson from the Boston Museum. So I think we're going to have some great educational experiences as well. Eric, are you here? Eric Fortes? No, he was maybe going to come. Eric Fortes is a faculty at COD who just started. And guess what his passion and expertise is? Wood block print carving. How about that? So he already did a demo for students. He wants to do one for the gala. And he's been a wonderful partner. He's taught his students how to do it, and they did a demo with and for other students, which has been great fun. I think, I don't know if any of you know that after Warhol, the editorial board of the Chicago Tribune said, once Sleepy DuPage is now cool. And they credited the Warhol show, among other things, but they said it's the culture that we have and the excitement that we had in everybody throughout DuPage County having the Warhol faces in their towns. And they really thought it made such a difference in our community and the impression our community gives off and the visitors and the tourism. And they said, once more, DuPage County is now cool. I don't think it's really that we did an Andy Warhol show. I think it's the collaboration throughout the community is what made it cool. And I think that's what we do different. And we pride ourselves on not just doing the show for us and to sell tickets, but to make sure that we're engaging the whole community and inspiring art and artisanship and community and collaboration throughout all of DuPage County. And it doesn't come by happenstance. We invite people to join us in. And last year, we did faces of the four most famous people in each town and a Warhol-inspired image that was done as murals. And we were thinking, what can we do for this one? And we thought, what about a Ukiyo-e inspired image of each town? And seeing if we could possibly find an artist who could capture that style and let each town decide what do they want the image to be of. And we thought it was a phenomenal idea, and we announced it, and everybody thought it was great and got all excited, and then we couldn't find anybody, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And Justin said, we're going to put a call out for artists. And this man submitted a piece of art, and Justin sent it to me as I was almost about to give up, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's it. We found him. And guess the faraway place he came from? Naperville. Richard Lowe was right here in Naperville. He is a professional illustrator artist. He's charming, he's dedicated, and guess what? He's here. So Richard, do you want to come say a few words about the project?
Thank you, Diana. Incredible job. This woman had lead this museum. So impressive. This is the first time I'm here. Thank you very much for coming, being a supporter of art, which is so important in our society. So I just want to give a brief scenario how I got here. I'm a professional artist and author of 8 children's books. And 2 of them are translated in Korean and Turkish. So that was a surprising situation in my life because I never considered myself a writer. But I consider myself an explorer. And between 2006 and 2017, I stayed at the Fine Arts Building in Chicago, downtown Chicago. catty corner from the Art Institute, which I'm a member, so I'm there practically every time I need an inspiration. It's an incredible reference for high-level art. During those 11 years, I dive into abstraction. Being a commercial illustrator, I can draw anything I want. But what was missing in my life was the capability of conceptualize. And during those 12 years, 11 years, I was committed to abstraction. So what's so important about this period is that now I have a different perspective on how to create artwork. And what commercial art gives me is the ability to break down techniques and get there, maybe not exactly how the originator did it, but I can get there 95% of the time. But what abstraction gave me was a sense of what fine art is, which is imagination, which is something that you need to acquire. You're not born with imagination. So when I saw the Call of the Artist article, and I knew exactly how I can win this commission. It's to the artwork they are expecting to see. So this skill set is a combination of being a commercial artist and a combination of being a fine artist. Because also an explorer, I just did maybe a couple hours of research, look at the technique, break it down, and come up with 2 samples before the deadline. And thank you so much. I am so grateful that I got this commission. And I'm so excited to work with all the communities and cities in the DuPage County and help support this incredible art center museum. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You know, we met yesterday with Richard to talk about the concept. So each town will get to choose a location or an iconic place and submit it to Richard. They will pick a season because Ukiyo-e art focuses on seasons, spring, summer, winter, fall. And they'll get to tell him how they want it, horizontal, vertical. And then he will work on the art. And then Justin said, why don't we make a book? And sell it all throughout DuPage County with all these different beautiful locations of DuPage County. We're also planned to have Richard's work framed in the hallway going down to the back area. We have a little area we can make an exhibition of all of the different iconic locations in DuPage County that will be here on display during the Hokusai exhibition. And then each town is asked to put this out somewhere in their community where it will be public art for everyone to enjoy. And the idea is people will look at that and there'll be ribbon cutting ceremonies, and it will always harken back, hopefully, to the fact that we are having this Hokusai, and it was imagined and inspired by this Hokusai exhibit, and it will be a memory in each town for many, many years to come. So when you see the 4 faces in a town, now you'll see in different towns their beautiful Ukiyo-e inspired image of their town. And it sort of leaves these legacies of these exhibitions that we're doing for each community as well. Mandy's going to talk to you in a little bit because she has to manage this monster in each town and who's involved. But if you don't see the name of your town circled, you might want to mention something to your community, because thanks to a sponsorship from the JCS Fund, which has helped us to afford to do this, we're trying to do one for every city in DuPage County. In addition, though, there's certain towns that are like, can we have 2? Can we have 3? They're going to have to pay for those. We can't afford all those. But if you don't see your town up there, you might want to mention something to your city leaders that this is a great opportunity and a very affordable opportunity to have them be involved, be included, and have something special for their community. Act fast because he needs to get started, and we want those images in the exhibition. he asked if there's a prospectus there is a document you can bring to your town that we can share with you. Absolutely. And I will tell you, we're calling it the Waves of DuPage Ukiyo-e Public Art Project because it's so easy to remember. And then Richard yesterday said, why don't we call it the Beautiful Cities Public Art Project? I'm like, yeah, why don't we? So I think we're going to call it something a little more simple for everybody to remember. We have an Asia Symposia coming up. This symposium is being done by the faculty. We're partnering with them. They do something every year, but our faculty is very excited that we're doing this show. And so they are doing a very Japanese-inspired symposium, and it's coming up here soon on February 26th. It's open to the public and it's free. And there will be Japanese drummers. There will be lectures. There'll be a talk on what is manga. So that is something that is free and open to the public leading up to our exhibition. The other thing we're going to have is an Iki stamp book. Iki stamp books are used in Japan, and they're sort of like little travel journals. And it's very customary that you have this little passport-style little journal, and you take it with you when you travel. And most places have a stamp that you can stamp your book and say, hey, I went to this museum, or I went to this beautiful garden. So we love that idea. So each station here at the museum, each area will have a stamp that you can stamp your book when you visit all the different areas of the museum. In addition, for places in the DuPage County area that have a Japanese theme or Hokusai related event or location or something, they're also buying a page in the book to promote it. I just saw the director of marketing for Morton Arboretum yesterday, and she's like, we're buying a page. We're going to do it. We're going to have people come visit our Japanese garden after they come see your show. So it'll help our tourism dollars go further by having people stay in DuPage County a little longer and maybe get a bite to eat, or visit one of our businesses that is sure to have Japanese and Hokusai themed souvenirs and offers and specials. The show will be open Tuesday through Sunday starting in June, and it'll go all the way through September, so that we decided to go a little longer in September so we could have field trips when school comes back into session. We're also going to have packages, so people who want a VIP lanyard and a tote bag or a catalog can buy a package ticket and upgrade. Those are different things that we're doing. And there'll be 2 sushi, sake, and a talk before you go visit the show opportunities on Thursday night if you want to come out and socialize before you see the art. So I think those will be great fun. So how can you get involved? Here to tell you how you can get involved is Amanda Rackow, better known as Mandy Rackow, who has just been promoted to this position. I always say just been. It's been almost, has it been a year? About a year, and she's doing a phenomenal job. She's been with the MAC for many years, but she's doing great with this project. And so Mandy is going to be your connection to getting involved, and I'm going to let her tell you how.
Thank you, Diana. So Diana has already told you about a lot of the ways that you can get involved. There are some additional ways that you can get plugged in if you're interested. We are looking for volunteers to help out at the exhibition. If you have an interest in art or education, a great role for you might be a docent. We will be looking for volunteer docents, also people to welcome guests and to be at our information booth that we have in front. If you're from a nearby community and you want to help promote the things that are happening in your community, that's a great place to plug in. There are other places around the exhibit. We always have people helping out in the children's area or just different, just to help move people along. We are going to have some summer jobs opening up. So if you know someone who's looking for a summer job, sometimes it's a good role for an educator who's off in the summer or a college student who's home. We are going to have a job fair next Thursday, February 6th, right here in the MAC. 11 to 2, and so people who are interested in working the exhibition can come, fill out their application and interview right on the spot, and we hope to get a great team together to help with that. Some other ways that you can get engaged is to host a lecture. This is great for libraries, schools, or other community organizations. Our director, Diana Martinez, or curator, Justin Whitty, are ready and able to come to your group and to share about the exhibition that's coming, share some history and some information about this art that's coming. And there is a cost for the lecture, but that cost can be applied toward a group then coming to the exhibition. So in reality, it's if you were going to come to the exhibition, you'd be spending that money anyway. So it's a nice little perk to get excited about it and learn some things before you come and help spread the word. You can also bring a group to the exhibition. We do 10% off tickets for groups of 20 or more. And then we'll have a special group rate for schools as well. As we mentioned, will be open through September 21st. So if you know educators, if you're an educator, we'd love to get school groups in here to learn about this exhibit. We can also host special events, sort of like what we have today. This stage is a great place to hold a special event if you have a corporate meeting or your organization wants to have a special event. We can do that here. I think we've also done events outside on the patio. And I'll be the person to talk to about making group reservations or special events. As Diana mentioned, we have the opportunity to cross-promote if you have a special event or offer in your business or your library or your town that's doing something Hokusai related. We have a page on our website that's all about community events that are happening. It's already live and it's got some things on it, but we'd love to add more, and we know that people are planning things. So please go to our website, click on the partner button, and tell us about your event so that we can promote it. We'd love to send people out to your communities to already start getting the excitement up for this. And one of the ways that we can help promote it is by having your ad in the stamp book. So if you have a special event or a festival or you just want to promote some businesses that have something related to Hokusai or Japanese culture, we encourage you to purchase a page in the stamp book. If you like, you can create a special stamp that people can get when they come to your place. That makes it kind of fun and like, ooh, I want to get all the stamps in the book. So that's a neat opportunity we have. As I mentioned on our website, this is a direct link, but if you go to hokusai2025.org and click on the events menu item, you can see the things that we already have listed. We have a lot of free and educational things. Diana mentioned the Asia Symposium. There's also our COD library is putting together an exhibition, and they're going to have like a manga trivia thing. We'll have a lecture by one of our librarians who kind of specializes in manga. And of course, we have our upcoming gala. So those are some things that you'll want to check out. And again, we hope to fill it with all the activities that you send to us that are happening in your communities. As Diana mentioned, we have our possibly name-changed public art project. Beautiful Cities Project, or Waves of DuPage is what we've been calling it up to now. Right now we have 12 communities, plus the Morton Arboretum has engaged with us on this project. If you don't see your community circled up there, or if you can't see that, you can come and ask me. But we'd love to get all the cities in DuPage involved. This is a really cool way to just unite the community and to show pride in your hometown and highlight something that's special to you. So we're really excited about the things we've already seen come in, and we want more. So because of this book that we're talking about wanting to put together, we're looking at February 15th as our deadline if you want to be included in that. we would like your submission by February 15th. And again, all this information is on that same website, or come talk to me. We have some educational resources that our museum staff have put together, a learning guide and a presentation and some suggested activities. Right now, these are for elementary students. I think we'll have some other levels. We've got one for college students that's in the works right now. And with some of these activities, a great thing that a school can do is if they have their class work on an activity that's inspired by Hokusai or Ukiyo-e, they can submit those images to be included in our digital showcase. We've done this, I think, for the last 2 exhibitions. Anyone in the community, not just students, can submit their artwork that's inspired by Ukiyo-e or Hokusai, and we will have it on display on one of the screens in our exhibition through the run of the exhibition. And as I mentioned, you can go to our website, hokusai2025.org. That link takes you directly to the partner page where you can learn more about all of these items. You can reach out to me directly. My contact information is there and on the website. And we look forward to partnering with you. So now I'm going to introduce John Nadell, who is Director of Development for the Mackinac Art Center.
Thank you, Mandy. Good morning, everyone. My name is John Nadell, and I'm the Director of Development for the MAC. So that is to say that fundraising is my core responsibility for the MAC, but more than that, I'm tasked with building and maintaining relationships with local companies, local organizations, and philanthropic individuals. And we have some of those incredible individuals here today. Some of those incredible organizations are here today. Our friends from the Japanese American Society of Chicago. Hello, Marion. We were hoping to see our friends from the Japanese American Service Committee. We've met with the Japanese Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Chicago, and so many people from our community who have lived and worked in Japan, worked for Japanese companies. And some of these individuals have been very philanthropic. But today I'm not here just to ask for your money, because philanthropy is also about the giving of your time. It's about the lending of your voice, and even making an introduction for us to the right person so that this information can be warmly received can have a major impact in us being able to put on this incredible exhibition. So we invite you to invite us to meet with people from your network and your community that might also want to get involved. So today I'm going to share with you a few ways that you can get involved and support the exhibition. The number one opportunity that we hope you will consider or think about someone in your network who can get involved is to join our host committee. A number of our host committee members are here, and I know that a lot of you probably serve on a number of committees. With this committee, you only have to do one thing. You don't have to attend meetings, parties, and events. And the one thing you have to do is make a $2,500 investment to the major exhibition fund held by College of DuPage Foundation. And with that donation, you receive 2 tickets to our exhibition First Look and 2 tickets to our Hokusai Gala. Now, this can be fulfilled by a household. It can be 2 friends going in together and being recognized together. A local organization that wants to be recognized as supporting the organization, or if you or someone you know works for a company that does a company match. That's another way to get involved and participate at this support level. And so we're asking you to be an ambassador for us and bring this opportunity back to your community, to your organization, and I am more than happy to sit down to sushi or ramen with anyone that you know that might be interested in hearing more. The next opportunity is our Hokusai Gala that is coming up. So, on February 23rd at 4 p.m., right here at the Mackinac Art Center, we are going to throw one heck of a party. I don't want to give too much away because I want there to be some surprises, but we'll have food stations and cocktails and desserts and an absolutely incredible silent auction that I'm going to tell you about. This incredible team has been buzzing about DuPage County, and it has been phenomenal to see our local businesses and our local golf courses and restaurants come together with an incredible array of items including that Tahitian pearl necklace, a week's stay on Marco Island, a 65-inch plasma screen TV. So as Marcy said, you can participate in the auction even remotely. So we want to say a big thank you to our gala sponsors, Mark and Marcy Peterson, Steve and Megan Shebeck, Andy and Kelly Dolly, Annette and Frank Shoemaker, Christopher B. Burke, who I believe is here today. Thank you, Chris, for joining us. DuPage Foundation and Vistex Corporation. So we do have opportunities for gala sponsorship at the $2,500 to $7,500 level that comes with a number of tickets to the exhibition. And you can join us. Premium seating starts at $250 per ticket. We have other price levels to participate, and we hope to have you. The big ask that we're looking for is if you can help us to reach exhibition sponsors. So far, our sponsors of the exhibition include the DuPage County Board, DuPage Foundation, Arts DuPage, White & Company, Illinois Arts Council, the Japanese Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Discover DuPage, Molex, Ball Horticultural, and several more. So we're hoping that you can introduce us to someone that you know either at a Japanese company or someone you know who wants to be recognized as being a supporter of the arts in the community. And we'd really appreciate any introduction to that end. Our sponsors receive a number of benefits. Of course, we're going to have brand placement in print and digital media, and a lot of that digital marketing has already begun. Naming opportunity of an exhibit or related event. Also, like Mandy said, we do corporate events on this stage that are perfect for client engagement, employee engagement, followed by a guided tour of the exhibition, employee discounts and volunteer opportunities. And like I said, you have a chance to be recognized as a culture leader across DuPage County. So what else can you do today? We'd appreciate if everyone here would consider simply making a donation to the major exhibition fund of College of DuPage Foundation. Every gift makes a difference in helping us to bring this exhibition to life. This staff has come together to put really an incredible art show together for the benefit of the whole county, and we're hoping that our individuals and organizations and companies within our community will also pool together to make sure that we can continue to bring these wonderful exhibitions to the community for years to come. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We hope you'll take these materials into your community and spread the word about this incredible exhibition. So thank you so much.